The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Break. Derek is not here right now, but he might join us later.
We're just not meant to have our actual cast.
It's been a long time. It's been a really long time.
At least 7 weeks.
It's okay. I mean, we're making do. We're all right.
We still keep the show going and make it happen.
There's one constant through the whole thing.
Well, another thing, it's been a while since we've answered some questions from fans. So if you're listening and you want to hit us up with whatever question you may have about the Cowboys, you can hit us on Twitter at Cowboys Break, and we'll get to it later in the show. But in the meantime, let's start.
Phone calls? Are we taking phone calls?
I don't know. Let's check back in later for that. Let's see how the show goes. We'll see. We'll see. But yesterday, Randy Gregory started going around Twitter and trending around Twitter, and something that's happening there where we don't necessarily have all the facts just yet and what's exactly going on there. But the reports from yesterday was that the Cowboys had offered an extension to Randy Gregory's contract for, I believe, another year, right? And as of right now, where does this whole thing stand? Is this true? What's going on here?
Well, it's definitely true. They agreed on a deal. They sent it into the league. The league is now reviewing it, and usually it's just accepted. It's not a big issue. But I think that there are some things about this extension that the NFL obviously has questions about, the timing of it. And who it benefits, I guess. Obviously, it's a different situation for a guy that's been going in and out of the. He's had some rehab situations. He's been suspended multiple times. He's actually suspended right now
with no definition of how many days or anything just yet.
There's not a time limit on his suspension.
So I think that, there's, we talked about this just before we went on, that there's a precedent here that the Cowboys have done this before, and it definitely benefits them. Randy needs money. I think that's what it comes down to. They're trying to help him. That's the overall thing here, is that they are trying to help this guy. He's going through different centers, in and out of them. He has to pay all this on his own. And what this does is basically you're buying next year's restricted year, and you're giving him a signing bonus right now. You put in $300,000 or so dollars in his pocket now. And what that does is it prevents Randy from, say, getting a big year this year. Say he does play, gets a big year, the Cowboys would be forced to give him probably a 1 year. A first round tender.
Right. It keeps him from being up for renewal as soon as he comes back, basically.
They've done this. I can think of Lance Dunbar, Phil Costa, Jeremy Parnell. Again, not the same type of player as Randy Gregory.
It's a very normal thing to do to a restricted free agent who you're anticipating using.
Yeah.
Except usually without all the suspensions and the
right.
I'll be perfect. I hate talking about Randy Gregory, and that's nothing against Randy at all. I like Randy Gregory as a person, but his whole career has been kind of like this. It's convoluted, and there's conversations going on between the league and the Cowboys. I mean, you talk about his suspensions, his visits last year where he had to go to Chicago as part of his treatment. It's always hard to get to the bottom of it with Randy, and that's not like I said, I'm not blaming him for that, but it's always tricky with him.
Well, we don't talk about the government in Germany because we don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't have
what
the
a comparison.
No,
I'm just saying I don't know.
I like the analogy because anytime Randy Gregory's in the news, I'm looking through the CBA, okay, what's going on? What is this? All right, so.
I had to be real vague with you guys because I could have said any other country, and you guys would have been like, well, I do know. I was there last week. And
Angela Merkel, what's up? I know that. I got that going for me.
All right, well, let's try to put a little bit more sense. So based on what you said, what you explained, this is actually a good thing or a smart thing that the Cowboys are doing here, because there are a lot of confused fans as to why the Cowboys would do something like this to a guy that has not been trustworthy or reliable, let's say.
That's better.
You know.
Yeah, reliable on the field. You know,
Yeah, right.
Just his availability hasn't been reliable, but the Cowboys still want to give him every opportunity to succeed. They want to help him, and this would be one of those win-win situations. It's like, listen, it's like, I'll help you. We'll help you here. We'll give you this extension. This will put some money in your pocket right now. It doesn't. It also protects us, and we won't pay you a lot next year if you have this great season. But we're helping you. We're betting on you right now. Actually, you could throw Barry Church in there as another guy.
They signed him to an extension while he was coming off a torn Achilles.
Right.
That's
it's
right.
Like, I'm betting on you.
They got him at a pretty great discount, considering he turned into their starter for however many years.
So I think it's so where we stand on it is that the league is reviewing it right now. I think the Cowboys are going to try to fight this thing and they're trying to help him. The league, this is new for them too. Kind of. I mean, just a guy that's been through this many situations. So they have to figure out what a suspension is. They've said he's suspended, right? That's indefinitely.
People keep asking me, and again, I hate talking about it because I can't give you a great answer. Like, it's clear, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, like everybody from the top down has expressed at least some level of hope or confidence that maybe Randy Gregory's not done for 2019. What that means, I don't know. I chalk it up to, every report we've heard is how hard he's been working to get back. They've gone out of their way to compliment him. They're not really allowed to have contact with him, but they are capable of checking in on him. So every report has been favorable from what I've heard. And then on top of that, it's very obvious. And if you remember last summer when he was first coming back, there were reports about this. The NFL is at least considering changing its stance on how these things work. And I do think there's a lot of credence to the thought that the worst thing you can do for a guy that needs structure and help to overcome these types of things is to send him away to be by himself. And I think that thought is at least gaining traction in the league office. What that means going forward, who knows?
The thing that's really interesting about Gregory is that his whole life seems to be, from what we know, everything about the aspects of his life is kind of either a contradiction or it's not what you think. It's like, well, he's available, he's doing great, and all of a sudden now he's not. And he's, just his whole status with the league is up and down. Watch him as a player. Guy comes off the edge, makes a great play. He's turning the corner. He's got another sack. He forced a fumble. Penalty. 15 yards, penalty, stupid face mask penalty, or hitting the quarterback late, or lining up off sides, and all that stuff. Then you talk to him, and this guy keeps making mistakes. Like, is he really a smart guy? Have you ever had a conversation with him?
He's a really smart guy.
He's a really smart guy. Everything about him in his life, on and off the field, is not exactly what you think. And as soon as you think it's one way, it goes another. So it's weird.
But, that's people, though. How many? Everybody's got like a cousin or a brother that's like, I thought he had a girlfriend. Didn't he just get a new job and he got fired again? I thought this was it. I thought he was.
Yeah, I thought he was.
I thought they were gonna get married. And now you tell, oh crap! Like back at square one with this guy. Like everybody knows somebody like that. They're just
Shannon.
Yeah, that's a good one. They're usually not great at sacking the quarterback. Like they're usually not superstar athletes.
Yeah.
But Randy Gregory is. So.
All right. Well, we'll keep waiting to see if we find some things out in the meantime.
Yeah, and what's weird is that that's just one of many situations with the defensive end position. I mean, you would think they signed a guy, Robert Quinn, for a 1-year deal. We don't need to go into. We could have this.
Derek's not here to call DeMarcus a bad player today, so we don't have to fight about it.
Yeah,
Derek's going to hear this.
Caught wind of that. You probably saw on Twitter.
I watched the show after seeing all the tweets.
What did you think about that?
I was with you guys.
Yeah, you were on the side of common sense.
I would have loved to be in here while that was happening, with Brian in here and Derek in here.
Brian was just
they were making no sense.
Brian was that cook that's making like chili. He just.
He loves doing
that. That's what Brian does. Like right. Brian will if he thinks it'll make
sign him.
Yeah,
sign him. If you like him, then sign him for $23 million.
It was a good show. It was good radio.
It was a good show.
Derek's gonna listen to this in 3 hours and come to my desk and be like, I did not say he's a bad player.
He might come.
Just said Quinn's just as good as he is.
Was that the same kind of level of intensity he had with a hot dog or a hamburger as a sandwich?
God. We don't need to do that, but yes, he was animated. Derek likes to argue. Like, he really, really likes to argue. So,
well, let's
be
transition
surprising.
into
Okay.
something else.
Okay.
Obviously, free agency, technically, I mean, it's not really over. There are still free agents.
player
out there.
acquisition is 365 days a year,
Exactly,
Amber.
Exactly.
dying down a
but
little bit.
we're
It's on
starting to
the
transition
downturn.
into the draft and more draft stuff. The 30 visits started. So wanted to get a little bit into that and some of the guys that the Cowboys have brought in here. Any name that seems attractive to you? Obviously, this is on the second day of the draft, so the names are not as flashy. But with that being said, are there some of those guys that kind of caught your eye?
I had an hour and a half. We all had a mandatory, Dave, hour and a half training session on safety.
My bad.
Here, and which was ironic because the Cowboys have a lot of safeties.
They sure do.
Waiting for Kent's I'll be,
The drop.
drum. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Which drop?
Anyways, what's drop? I'm trying to do like 12 things here.
Yeah, I literally.
No, sorry.
It's okay. You're good.
No, it was a really bad joke, and I was
It wasn't great.
All right, give me a name. Give me a name. And
right
why?
Here, Jonathan Abrams is right here on the cover. I know you're hungry, Kent. Just hold on. Show's over at 12.
Yeah, we look pretty smart with the guy we put front and center on this magazine this year.
Yeah,
Draft guide,
Jonathan
anybody's
Abrams
watching.
is I actually have seen him play a game, one game this year, and he was wrecking the whole first quarter. And I was like, man, that's a guy the Cowboys need. And then you guys have been all over the draft show, and you watch every player from here to Saginaw Valley State. And so Jonathan Abrams, a guy you like, stands out. You don't think he'll be there 58th?
Yeah, well, so, I mean, I don't want to read off the whole list on the show. You can go plenty of places to find it if you want to look. But they are clearly focusing on safety. I think they've got as many as 6 guys coming in. Defensive line is another spot. And that's so you get 30 of these. You can bring 30 guys in from around the country to meet your coaching staff, work on the whiteboard, meet everybody, tour the facility, stay in the hotel across the street for the night. So 6 safeties, I think 6 or 7 defensive linemen, and the Cowboys haven't really hid that. That's been their focus. They've said it. That's kind of what we're looking at. If you look at what they've done in free agency, that makes the most sense. What's the status of DeMarcus Lawrence? What's the status of Randy Gregory? None of these defensive tackles really are here for the long term. And then the same thing with your safeties. Jeff Heath's coming up in a contract year. George Iloka's on a 1-year deal. And you would like to potentially improve the talent level. So those are 2 spots that I think are really intriguing. Abrams here. Taylor Rapp from Washington is also here. I would be pretty surprised if either of those fell all the way to number 58. That's the tricky thing.
What about
Juan Thornhill? He's
Yeah.
another guy. That's a little more realistic, I think. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Is he? Now I'm doubt. He's a visit. He is.
Yeah,
He's
he was a visit.
Another guy that I think could be there. The tricky thing is obviously you're picking 6 spots away from the start of the 3rd round, so it's not even like you're at the top of the 2nd. So Brian, a favorite Brian brought his catchphrase is they're just at the mercy of the board. Like you just got to see. Just gonna have to see who's there. My favorite player in this whole draft, Deebo Samuel, was here. That's really exciting.
I honestly think that what they've done in free agency is really good. I mean, this is what you're supposed to do in free agency. You're supposed to cover your bases, and I think they've done even better than that of adding some players in that can start for you. You don't have to draft a safety. You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I did this chart yesterday. It's pinned on my Twitter profile. I just went down the 11 positions on a team. Is this a Cowboys draft need? Why or why not? And you can make a convincing argument why every position is not a
Like
need.
a column coming on DallasCowboys.com.
Could be, yeah. I mean,
Like
I
that.
feel like I've written about it on the website before, but yeah, I mean,
Probably tweeted about it before.
yeah, I do that too. There's many ways to put out content these days.
I like that.
But
So is it a need or not?
you can make a convincing argument why every position is not a need. Safety, you're bringing in Iloka, who's a 6-year starter. Spare me your Heath hate, but he's still there. So you've got 3 experienced starters at safety. Defensive tackle, as much as you would like to upgrade the depth there, you've got 4 experienced starters. You've got Kerry Hyder and Christian Covington to back up Antoine Woods and Malik Collins. defensive end.
And that's not to say that Tyrone Crawford might end up there.
Well, and we've said it a million times. He doesn't do it, but Taco could probably do it too in a pinch.
Yeah.
And signing Quinn gives you 4 guys, and you don't feel great about it if DeMarcus Lawrence isn't there, but you've got 4 guys and hopefully 5, maybe 6 if Randy comes back. Tight end. Don't get me wrong. There's so many tight ends in this class that I'd love to have on this team, but how much playing time are they going to get behind the 3 guys you have here, especially Jason Witten? I mean, how much is he really coming off the field? So, receiver, you brought in Cobb to go with all the guys you already have here. Like, I think they've done a very, very good job of covering themselves.
I think the one position that I just think that you have to draft is running back.
You're right. You're right.
You have to draft a backup running back.
That is the one spot where you're like, yeah, they need to do, and
it's good.
They've
only
said
brought
as much.
2 guys, or
Yeah.
There's
many.
I think there's 3 backs on the list. Yeah, I mean, which it's funny to think like their biggest need is a spot that I would bet $20 they're not going to address until the 3rd day.
Yeah,
like they're not going after a running back.
Their
before
biggest
the 4th
need
round.
Involves a position that has arguably the best player in the NFL.
And the other thing, I think we brought this up last week, is Jerry Jones said this at the owners' meetings. If they don't get a guy they love in the draft, or maybe even if they do, there's still several good free agents out there. Like, it just goes to show, we thought running back was making all this progress, and it's like Todd Gurley got hurt, and now everybody's afraid of him again. TJ Yeldon's still out there. It's CJ Anderson just signed, like it just happened. So there's a couple more veterans that are still out there as well. So I'm very confident they're going to.
You want to trade for one, or I don't know if we can talk about that.
Depends on that's always the fun gray area. I know, the rumor coming out of Cleveland is that the Browns want to deal Duke Johnson. He would very much, he would be a lot of fun to have as a backup here. He can catch the ball. He runs routes. So he's obviously a capable runner. I wonder about the cost, though, because you're trading for him. Maybe you could do it for a 2020 pick, but even then, he's got 3 years left on I think average of $5 million a year. You pay him $2 million this year, and then it escalates like 3 next year, 3.5 the year after that, which not a huge salary, but when you consider that a guy you draft you'd be paying him $600,000. I think I'd rather just draft.
I think we're at this point. You said it about the free agency being over. It's never over, but it gets to a point, and I didn't know if it was this early before the draft, but it gets to a point where you're like, okay, you're not going to do anything else because we want to wait and see what we get out of this.
Right.
And then it'll pick back up again.
I bet, they'll probably sign a couple more guys, but it'll be when the draft's over. Because, the visitors are here. You still got to do Dallas Day, which is when you bring in all the local kids. That should be coming up soon.
This guy's just staring at me here, this Elijah Holyfield.
You like him.
I do, and maybe I'm just enamored. If his name was Elijah Jones and his dad just was, but his dad was a heavyweight champion boxer of the world.
He played for Georgia. They've been one of the best programs in college football the last 2 or 3 years.
He kind of runs like Zeke. This 4.78 for his 40 time is obviously not great.
Lower, like 4.8, 4.9. Okay. I'm just saying.
I know. I don't want him running 40 yards. I want him running like 6 yards.
Yeah.
But I think a guy like that in the mid rounds will be good. It may not be him. It'll be somebody with a little bit more.
I say that. Who cares? Like, how often do you see NFL running backs run 40 yards at a time? Like, what's the 10-yard split? Like, can he get through the hole? Right. Can he hit the split in like 1.5?
Is he going to carry a couple guys with him?
Yeah.
Then we saw one of the. You're talking about from a physique standpoint. We saw one of the best they've ever had in a 7th-round pick last year, and he's not in the league. Bo Scarborough.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So
that was sad.
But his dad's not a heavyweight boxer.
I look at the 4th round as the sweet spot because you draft. You go any later, you're talking about Bo Scarborough, you're talking about Darius Jackson, which big fan of Darius Jackson, but he's had 6 carries in the NFL in 3 years. But they've got 2 picks in the 4th round. You think about Holyfield, Justice Hill. I think there's 2 kids coming out of Memphis that I'm drawing a blank on their name right now who are both really good.
Going to my draft guide.
Yeah,
which you
can
magazine.
Get on newsstands and on the internet like starting this week, right?
I think, starting today. Darryl Henderson's the guy from
Darryl
Memphis.
Henderson, really good player. I said Justice Hill out of Oklahoma State. He ran the fastest combine at the fastest 40 at the combine. So 2 picks in the 4th round. That's where I'm looking if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, and I think you could find a really capable backup in there. Okay.
All right, well, let's take our quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll keep talking about some of these guys and then transition to Jason Witten.
Kaboo Texas is 3 days, 6 stages, over 100 artists, including The Killers, Lionel Richie, Leonard Skinner, Miss Lauryn Hill, Kid Rock, Alanis Morissette, Little Big Town, The Avett Brothers, Counting Crows, Pitbull, Sting, The Black Eyed Peas, and the list goes on. Don't miss Kaboo Texas. Single day and 3-day passes are on sale now. Visit KAABOOTexas.com to get your passes today.
If you're like me and you love... if you have a thing, then cutting the cord is scary. But then I found out I could switch to DirecTV Now and still get the live sports I love. No satellite needed, no bulky hardware, no annual contract, just...
Get the live sports you love. Try DirecTV Now for $10 a month for 3 months. Visit DirecTVNow.com. DirecTV Now. More for your thing. That's our thing. Use code REALDEAL. Limited time. Price for little package. After 3 months, renews monthly at full price. Currently minimum $40 unless canceled. Prices may change. New subscribers only. Cancel anytime. Content varies by package and may be limited. Restrictions apply.
Do you want the most interesting, up-to-the-minute Dallas Cowboys news straight from the Star in Frisco? How about exclusive and on command? That's right. News and nuggets you can't find anywhere else. With our exclusive Cowboys content on Alexa, you can have all the answers, secrets, stories, and more. What's Stephen Jones thinking during a game? What's Joe Looney's favorite pregame meal? We take your questions to Cowboys players and coaches, and you can hear the answers directly back to you. Just say, Alexa, open Dallas Cowboys.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay, and of course with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
While a player can look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
Back to the break.
All right, welcome back. This is the second segment of the break, and here's a question from Twitter, since we're still in the topic of the draft and some options there. If either of these safeties fall into the second round, do you think the Cowboys will trade up for Abrams or Rapp?
I would never count out the possibility of the Cowboys trading. I think it would depend on how far they have to go and whether they're comfortable. Unless you're talking about only moving 4 or 5 spots, you probably have to trade your 3rd round pick. So, which to the point we made in the first segment, like they've done a pretty good job of handling their needs. So, if you're like, let's say, we can get Jonathan Abrams if we trade our 3rd round pick, and we've got our starting safety duo for the next, at least 2, if not more years. And this guy's going to be, playing for us for a decade, then I would do it for sure, because there just aren't that many positions where when you're picking at 90 where I feel confident that this guy's going to be a hit, so I would do it. I don't know if they would do it, but, for everybody that's asking that, get comfortable with the thought that it would cost your 3rd round pick to do it.
Yeah, I think that if by sitting around all day and in the first day of the draft and not being able to do anything, and watching Amari Cooper highlights, as Stephen Jones said they would do. But I think that you have a better chance of thinking they'll move back than to move up. I just think that they're going to try to collect some picks. So if there's somebody that they're not like in love with at the 58 spot, I could see them maybe trying to move back. But then you would move out of the round.
Or there could be 5 guys that they feel good about, and you're like, well, maybe we can trade back, and one of those guys will still be there when we pick at 65 instead of 58.
Because what you just said about you don't think there's a huge difference maker there at 90, so you would be okay. Maybe.
I mean, there's
typically not. Yes, Jason Witten was picked in the third round, but
well, I mean, Michael Gallup was pick 81, and I always say like you want your top 100. Anybody you take in the top 100, you're hoping can play a role for you in their rookie year, but feel better about a guy you're trading up to 45 than a guy you're drafting at 90.
But that being said, the guy at 45, you would rather just probably have your second and third round pick than to know.
I mean,
which you know what? I remember the DeMarcus Lawrence trade was similar to that because they moved up to 34. I don't remember where they were.
They were at 47. They went 13 spots.
And you moved up to get DeMarcus Lawrence, and you didn't have your third round pick. Same type of scenario. And then there was a good guard from LSU, maybe, that was
Trey Turner
sitting in the third round. And you're like, is this a good idea? And after a couple of years, you're like, this really wasn't a great pick. And then 2 or 3 years later, it's like it was a great pick. And then now maybe it's not.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
There's 2 guys from the 2014 draft still on this team, and they're both all pros. So, I mean, it worked out. It took DeMarcus a little bit longer than Zach. I think Zach kind of got there faster than everybody ever.
Yeah.
But that's tricky. I mean, would you rather have, Zach Allen and Zach Allen and Mecole Hardman from Georgia, or Jonathan Abram,
I don't know. I just saw Mecole Hardman and his 4.
He's fast.
4.33.
He would be your guy. He would be your speed guy.
He was staring at you too.
No, I was staring at him actually when I watched the championship game 2 years ago, and it was Alabama, and I think he went for an 80-yarder, and then he had another touchdown in the game too. I'm like,
he's fast.
Who's this guy?
He's super fast.
What's his deal? He can't catch? What?
His route tree. I don't think he's super polished. I mean,
and that's
he's kind of Tavon Austin-y to me. Which that speed can make a difference.
Sure.
I just don't know how polished he is. That's just me, though. I'm not, Brian's the scout.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
All right. Anything else y'all want to say before we change the topic?
No, sorry. I mean, cut us off. Whatever.
What are we going to?
I'll talk as little or as much as you want to.
I know sometimes you have something on your mind. So
well, today's Wednesday. Obviously, tomorrow is Thursday, which is another episode of the draft show.
True.
But we'll be able to you can go to the website. I think later today we'll be able to have a link for you that you can go and purchase this magazine. I tell you,
a lot of good information.
A lot of stuff. A lot of guys. I don't even want to put a number on it, but it's probably over at least 300 guys that are listed in here. With some detailed profiles on about 150, 170, I think, guys that Brian really spent a lot of time looking at.
The work that he puts into the draft process is it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think this cover is amazing, and we did a nice job with this cover. So, probably 2 guys on here that have a real good shot, maybe 3. When you talk about Jonathan Abram. Allen.
There's a few guys on there that have a shot.
Who's Allen? Allen from
Boston College. Yeah. Travion Williams is a guy to watch.
Maybe Ed Oliver if he falls.
I mean, yeah. No. Jeez, that would be a hell of a fall.
Yeah.
You might have to wear a gas mask on draft night to have that happen.
God.
Jalen Hurd is a guy. I haven't heard a lot of smoke about him from the. You kind of. A lot of these names kind of get linked to the Cowboys. I haven't heard anything linking Jalen Hurd to the Cowboys, but I'm a big fan of his game.
You never know what could happen.
He was the running back that Alvin Kamara couldn't get on the field because of him, and then he wound up playing slot receiver at Baylor. So
this sucks. I'm just watching, and I see all these guys just so young, and it reminds me of every time I would say, they just keep getting younger, but no, I just keep getting freaking older.
You're like 20.
It's weird. No, it's weird. It's weird that now.
Why does that have to do with
I came in at their same age, and now they're all like way younger than me.
What does that have to do with anything, though?
It just has a baby face. He has a baby face.
26 years old. Nobody's impressed. You're not old at all.
All right. Well, Jason Witten.
He's old. Jason Witten's old.
He's getting up there.
No offense.
He got inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and he got the chance to talk to the media for the first time since he retired.
Yeah.
All that jazz that happened. Anyways, he seems pretty excited. Very, very excited. Got a post on Instagram and Twitter and of his helmet and his jersey in the locker room. And we've already discussed our expectations for him this year of coming back after a year of not playing football. But there was something that he said that was interesting to me. The whole experience of him watching the game from the booth and just seeing the whole game from a whole nother perspective. Do you guys think that him having the opportunity to experience that and learn from that would give him some kind of different knowledge or advantage that he can apply into the game?
I don't know about that part. I don't know if that's the thing. What I do buy into is that him seeing it from another perspective and really just missing what he's used to. And I did have a conversation with him. It was very one-sided. I didn't get a lot of words in. He was going, and he was talking a lot about his whole time at ESPN. And basically what I took from that was when the game was over, he told me a story. The very first game he did was over. He was like, "That's it? Like what now?" And I'm like, "Well, you just go home and go to the next game next week." He wasn't fulfilled. He didn't get hit in the face. He didn't get to hit anyone. It just wasn't his thing. And you could tell that he wasn't ready to give it up. So to come back, I think that I don't know if it's a different perspective, but I just think that he's got this renewed energy, and I think he will have to change his mindset a little bit. I mean, this whole coming off the field stuff and what kind of leadership he is. You know, when you leave for a year and you come back, it won't be the same. And I think he knows that. I really do. I think he knows that he's not maybe one of the leaders of this team.
You don't want to read too much into it. If you mentioned it, the video he posted, he walked into the locker room and was like, "Let's do it," which is funny because he was back here. He was in the building like a day after all that happened. Like, I remember we were in Indy for the Combine. They announced he was coming back on a Thursday. I came back into work on like a Wednesday. And, he was in his sweatsuit with his backwards hat. And I was like, it was like he never left. Like, he did not waste any time getting back into the flow of it. So you can tell he's excited. But he posts this video. And if you look, his locker is in between two other lockers, which if you know the layout of the Cowboys locker room, that's not the way it used to be. He was the last, Jason Garrett loves to put his leaders at focal points of the locker room. So like your Pro Bowlers are either at the end, so you have to walk past them to come into the locker room. Sean Lee and DeMarcus Lawrence are at one end. Travis Frederick and Tyron Smith are at the other end. And then in the middle, by the showers, you had Jason Witten, you had Dan Bailey for a while, R.I.P.
Romo.
Well, way back in the Valley Ranch days, yeah, Romo. I guess he had a locker here in 2016. It doesn't feel like it at this point.
Was in it, yeah.
Dak and Zeke sit in the middle of the locker room, so you have to be near them if you're going by the showers or whatever. Anyway, Witten sat right there by the shower, and when he left, they made a big deal of giving his locker to Zach Martin. And you're not going to take that away from Zach Martin. I mean, he's definitely in the conversation.
You leave, you lose your seat.
They left the locker empty for like at least 9 or 10 weeks of the season, though.
Well, no, they left it empty. They left it empty for the off-season program, and then when the team got back from Oxnard, I think that's when Zach moved over there. But either way,
it was a while. It wasn't like the next day.
No, I know it wasn't.
Where's his spot?
I don't know, but if you go look at, it's an Instagram video or a Twitter video, whatever, and you can just tell that his locker is in between two lockers, which was not the case with his old locker. And I was like, well, that's kind of telling that, it's not exactly the same, because if it was exactly the same, they would have put him right back in his old spot where he always sat, and they didn't do that.
And part of that is stemmed from Valley Ranch, just from a simple standpoint of when the media is around them at their locker, because we don't do the podium here, that it's just easier for the media to kind of be around like the edges.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't really feel the same. It's actually harder to do that with, Sean Lee and DeMarcus. I know Dez had a spot like that.
Dez used to, they moved DeMarcus into Dez's spot. So it's fun to see how that changes. But again, maybe they'll, just because that's where Witten's locker was in an Instagram video on March 25th doesn't mean that's where it'll be. But I did think that was interesting, because how are you going to ask Zach Martin to move, Mr. 5-time All-Pro?
Okay, I'm drawing blank right now. Who sits where Romo was, Dan Bailey?
I don't know.
Over on that,
is it LP?
It might be LP. Yeah, I'm drawing
right
a blank.
by the shower, that corner.
I'm drawing a blank because whoever it is, he's not a guy that talks to the media.
I cannot remember.
I don't either. I don't think it was LP.
I don't think it's LP either.
LP was in the middle.
It might be Chris Jones. Chris Jones sits over there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I go in the locker room next time, which will be in like a month,
this is very important talk. Where are these players?
Okay. We're peeling the curtain back right now, okay? People want to hear this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Where are we even?
Witten, is he going to be the same?
I think I don't think it's going to be completely the same.
He sounded so confident, and also saying, I understand there are doubters out there that are gonna, doubt his comeback and all that, but the way he expressed himself was basically like, the tape is going to show the real thing. Can watch it.
I don't doubt his ability to come back at all. I doubt how different it's going to be. And that's even if he's in a new locker or whatever. I mean, I just, Jerry Jones said it. I got to see to believe that he's going to be part of this platoon with two guys that have like 25 career catches. I just don't. I got to see it. I just have to.
Well, and all the players respect him just as much. I mean, that hasn't gone away, so there's going to be still that level of respect.
And let's be honest, too. It's not like he was keeping these great players down by being on the field all the time. Now, you can say Martellus Bennett was pretty good.
And that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
But he made a Pro Bowl or two or whatever, and Jason made about 6 or 7 more. But I don't think there's been any other tight ends that he's like.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a narrative. Fasano, Martellus. Sure. There was one more, wasn't there?
Gavin.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But it's been a while since like a truly great since a guy went on to be better at his next team after not making it here. It's been a while since that happened.
I think if Blake Jarwin and or Schultz are, worthy of playing as much or if not more than Witten, then I would imagine the Cowboys would make that change and do that. I mean, these coaches, as Brian Broaddus would say, these coaches are coaching for their lives here. This is their shot, and I don't think that you can sit there and go, well, nah, I can't tell Witten to get off the field. Well, the owner's going to tell you to get to leave if this thing doesn't go in deep.
Then you
kind of
lose that right after you decide to retire.
You do.
I mean, no, that's fair. Whether he's better or because he's Jason Witten, whatever. If I set the over under for his offensive snaps, like next January, or February, whatever, whenever the season ends. Season in review booklet comes out. I'm setting the over under for snap count like 83.5% of the snaps. You taking the over or the under?
83.5.
And I'm being generous because his number's usually 90. 95. Yeah. If I set it at 83.5, I'm taking the over all day. All day.
Probably.
I'd take the over if you set it at 90, honestly.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think it's in the 80s. I would definitely take the under if it was in the 90s. But 80, I don't know. I can't sit here and think it's in the 70s.
I can't either. And maybe it will be. I don't know. But I have to see that before I believe it's going to happen.
Okay.
Training camp is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Just to watch him come back. And after a whole year of not playing football, Who knows how much he was training during the offseason.
There's no doubt about him.
Not during the offseason, but during his time
will
away.
Be ready. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ready. All right, but before we take a break, I'll give a little teaser for you guys.
Ooh.
The kicker. What's up with this position? People, some people tend to forget, some others not. They will remind you on Twitter, like, what's up with the kicker position, Brett Maher, and all that jazz. So when we come back, we'll dig into that whole topic.
While a player can look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeerdealer.com/football.
It's time for Tailgate with the OtterBox boys.
OtterBox? The makers of those crazy protective phone cases?
The one and only. They're also wild about protecting parking lot parties from sad drinks. It's why they made elevation tumblers.
Rumor around the crock pot is they're made from stainless steel with a copper lining to keep temps hot or cold.
True. They even come in 7 different sizes, up to 64 ounce, the growler.
I like how OtterBox drinks. Thinks.
And that's been Tailgating with the OtterBox boys. Check out all the colors and sizes of their elevation tumblers at otterbox.com.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized Intense Therapy lip balm and a Cowboys can cooler. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay, and of course with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
A man's Stetson doesn't just protect him from life's elements. It projects an unstoppable and legendary spirit, just like the men wearing silver and navy on the field every Sunday. Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. They are still the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find Stetson hats in the Pro Shop or at Stetson.com today.
Back to the break.
All right, welcome back. We've basically talked about every position of need and not of need for the Cowboys. So what's up with the kicker? That is one that we haven't really discussed. Is this still a position of need that you see that the Cowboys should address through the draft or somehow?
Man, I'm reluctant to comment because this time last year I was like, shut up about getting rid of Dan Bailey. Like, stop. Okay, he struggled down the stretch. Whatever. He'll be here. Nope. Never. You learned some valuable lessons the last couple of years covering this team. Like, you can't really count on anything to last longer than the next 6 months.
We're going to watch the practices. And we're going to watch the kicking attempts and at practice.
This year at training camp, we'll definitely pay attention to that.
I have a couple of thoughts. One, I just have this feeling that Jason Garrett and then by proxy the front office, like, they have more faith in good Brett Maher than bad Brett Maher. Like, he was brilliant at times last year. He had struggles. He was inconsistent, especially down the stretch of the season. I just feel like they have more faith in him than the average fan or media member does. One. Two, this team has found great players without using draft capital at the kicker position. Dan Bailey was undrafted. Brett Maher was undrafted. That covers like the last decade of Cowboy kickers.
The only drafted quick kicker that I can think of was David Beeler, and he really wasn't that good.
Where did Folk was somebody else's draft pick?
No, you're right. Folk was drafted like 6th round.
But not by the Cowboys.
Yeah.
By the Cowboys.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was drafted by the Jets.
No, he went to the Jets after. Yeah, he was drafted by the Cowboys. You're right.
But okay. So even if you're talking about drafting one, the last kicker that was drafted high was Aguayo, and that was a miserable failure.
Yeah.
Janikowski was, he was pretty damn good, but.
So the expectation here is that definitely they're bringing somebody to add competition and all that stuff at practice and training camp.
I would be fairly surprised if they draft a kicker. There's only 2 that are worth it, probably. Siebert out of Oklahoma and then Cole Tracy out of LSU. I would be pretty surprised, especially like you've only got 6 picks as it stands right now. I would be surprised if they spent one of those on a kicker. There will assuredly be a guy here in training camp.
I wouldn't draft one because Brett Maher, like you said, there's some shaky moments for sure, but I think you're bringing a guy in, you're finding a guy that wasn't drafted, and you're going to see if he's better. And he might be. He might outperform him at camp, but I don't think it's worth a pick to do that. Because if you are going to make a pick, then you're making that decision right now. Like if you're a team, like let's say the Bears that obviously let go of their kicker and their season ended because missed kicks, then yeah, you draft a guy and that's the kicker. But I don't think you would even draft one and he would be better.
When the word that came out after they cut Dan Bailey, you have conversations and, whispers start to get around. It's like they were worried about his mindset. They were worried about his confidence. Felt like he was out of his routine. Felt like, He didn't have that belief that you would prefer a kicker to have. And everything I've ever heard Jason Garrett say about Brett Maher is he's the exact opposite. Like he missed like a long kick in a game. I don't remember which game right now, but I heard somebody say after the game he was just like right back at it. Like, I'll drill it from 62 if you give me another shot. Like, get me back on the field, I'll do it. And I think his belief and his, to borrow a word from Garrett, process. I think they have a lot of confidence in him and belief that he can do it, that they lost with Dan Bailey toward the end of his time here. And I think that counts for a lot with them. So I think there's more belief on their part in Brett Maher than, like I said, than we or maybe the fans have.
Here are some of the concerns that I have, though, is that the 59 and 62-yard field goals, that almost hurts them. I mean, it almost hurts the situation because those aren't normal. It has to be the end of the half or whatever, and yeah, you can try it, but for the most part, you're not trying a field goal like that. I want to know what he can do between 30 and 40.
Well, that's
the extra point.
The joke is that he'll just nail it from 62, but miss from 38.
Right.
Which that's scary. So I get it. I understand people's concerns. I would like him to have some healthy competition in training camp, but just the nature of the position, I would be surprised because you see a kicker get drafted like once every other year, or once a draft. Like, it just doesn't happen that often. So I think they'll just find a guy in college, in undrafted free agency, to come in and compete with him.
And then it'll probably be a guy that does some punting.
Yeah,
it'll that can punt some and kick. You can have one extra guy that can help Chris Jones. It can also help Maher. He can kick off some. So, but that's kind of the way Maher was. He was just a guy that could do a little bit of everything. And the next thing you know,
for 5 years we were just like, okay, this is the guy that's going to spell Dan Bailey every other day, and like literally nobody realized. I don't think they didn't even realize that he might take his job. So it's just something we're going to have to pay closer attention to this year.
I like that from the standpoint of training camp. And sometimes you go out there. We've been going there for many years, and it's routine. Yes, it's different players, but it's a routine. We sit same spot. The weather's about the same. It's always sunny, and it's always about the same. And then we kind of just think, here's the guy that's going to kick a little bit, and we don't even need to know his name. That's not happening this year with that position and other positions.
Yeah, I remember I watched him last year at training camp, and he missed a few, and I was like, oh, this guy sucks. And I'm like, okay, Dan Bailey, he's going to be fine. Because the kicker position, I like the kicker position.
Yeah.
And obviously, I guess I'm still a fan of Dan Bailey.
Yeah.
I still have his poster up there on my desk. Maybe I should replace it, but... No. I remember watching it.
Here's also a difference, too, from last year to this year. When he got the job, what was the number one question that we had about this guy?
Oh, God. I don't remember. You set me up to fail here.
What?
Well, how do you say his name?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
No one even knew how to say his
Maher.
name. It's Maher. It's Maher. It's Maher. No one knew.
I just assumed the H was silent.
That won't happen this year. Like, whoever it is. My point is we didn't even get to know his name. We didn't care.
Shout out all my Nebraska Cowboy fans that knew, but nobody else did.
Yeah. Maher.
I thought it was Mar. I just thought the H was silent. Yeah.
But my personal expectations are that whoever comes in here and at practice and all that, it's still not going to be someone that would win the job over him.
Right.
So the fans should most liklikely expect Maher to be back.
That just contradicts everything we just said. I'm not expecting anything.
No, okay. You never know what can happen. Clearly, what happened with Dan Bailey is a clear example of...
Brett Maher he was brilliant at times last year, and if he's the guy, that's fine. But I'm not going to assume anything.
I am.
Why? We just had this conversation. Like, it's literally, I mean, you're only as good as your last kick. Training, I mean, if Dan Bailey can get the axe, then Brett Maher definitely can.
Yep.
We'll see, I guess. And they have a good team that do a good job of picking kickers and guys on that position and guys that care. But All right. We'll see what happens there. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to expect at this point. You could just confuse me even more.
I agree with Dave. I mean,
it's just a mix.
I think the difference is you're going to see is, Bailey didn't want to kick a lot in the preseason. If the operation isn't normal for him, if it's not LP to Chris Jones and then the kick, he didn't want to do it. And for different reasons why, and you have to play the different alignments and special teams, first team, second team, and all that stuff. So, or all that jazz. So, he didn't get to kick as much with the first team guys. And so it rattled Dan. I don't think Maher, he's kicked in the CFL Saskatchewan. He doesn't really care. I think he'll be fine. And so I think he's going to take all the kicks that he can until they decide they want to get another kicker in there. So he's going to have every opportunity to win or lose this job.
Yeah, and the reason why I really said that my expectations would be for him to most likely keep his job is because of what you said about Garrett and what they like about his mentality. And a lot of the things that we've seen from this team is that when they have a guy that they like their mentality and stuff, they will back that guy up no matter what.
To be clear, I think Brett Maher will be the kicker when week 1 finally kicks off.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go into training camp assuming anything after what happened last year.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay. This is a question from Brian Hernandez. Is there any chance at all that the Cowboys talk to Cleveland about Duke Johnson?
We kind of mentioned that in the first segment.
Yeah.
Kind of what Nick said at the top is the draft is 3 weeks away. And so I think it's all hands on deck trying to make sure your draft strategy is implemented. They've done enough that they feel good about everything. If the draft doesn't go your way, maybe you revisit that. Or like I said, there's some veterans in free agency that you can acquire. I'd be surprised if they did that right now.
What could happen too is you get to the 4th or 5th round and you're like, you haven't got the running back that you want.
It's true. They swapped Switzer for Tavon on
and that's
day 3
where you
last
say,
year.
hey, we know what Cleveland probably would like to have the pick here, and definitely, to trade their guy. Is these guys that we're about to pick from, would this guy help us more? And obviously, it'd be more expensive, but is it worth it to do that route? So I could see it being maybe a draft day thing.
I think they've got a small number of targets that they feel really good about, and I think they're going to focus on that until something changes. That's my guess. And you could do the Duke Johnson deal when the draft's over. If Cleveland's got Chubb, and at some point they'll have Kareem Hunt, and if they're hell bent on dealing him, I think they would do it for a 2020 pick the same way the Dolphins did.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's a fun little question. Which side of the ball do you expect to take the biggest jump this season, given the recent additions or returns? You got Quinn, Law, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leighton Van Der Esch, Smith with a full season could be legendary, but we also have Amari Cooper, Cobb, Dak, and possibly the return of Frederick, him doing well back in the mix.
And Witten.
And Witten, that's another one.
It had better be the offense, because the offense was bad last year, and the offense is getting an all-pro center back. We'll assume Travis Frederick is Travis Frederick, lot to still do there, but you're getting Travis Frederick back on that offensive line. You're adding Randall Cobb, who I think can significantly upgrade your slot production. No offense to Cole Beasley. Another year of Amari Cooper. He'll be at training camp this time. You will, one way or another, you'll have a better backup running back, I think, than what you've had the last couple years. And that's where you need to see the improvement. On top of that, Derek's not here to plug Robert Quinn as Reggie White, but if DeMarcus Lawrence, that situation scares the crap out of me, because right now I'm not confident he's going to be completely healthy when the season starts. As it stands right now, I don't know how you can feel confident about that. And if he's not there, the defense won't be as good. Derek doesn't want to hear that. That's okay. He's not here to defend himself.
I think that the defense will actually be better than obviously better than the offense, because I think that it is a better unit. But I do think that they're going to improve as well. I think the linebackers are going to be even better, more dynamic, and I think Quinn will help. And I do believe D-Law, Quinn will both be there together. I'm not saying I wish they would have done something a little bit better in safety, but didn't happen again. The streak continues.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, the draft is still there.
The draft is there, but
if top 60 pick is added to the safety position, you might feel better.
I might. And they haven't really drafted a safety in the second round. Am I missing someone? I can't really.
The highest pick they've spent on a safety in recent memory was Wilcox, and that was
he played running back for 3 years of his career.
Pick 85.
Yeah.
Pick 87. Something like that.
Well, maybe that's what they do. Maybe they just say, "Hey, second round, we're taking a safety."
Maybe.
You said it earlier, asked it earlier. If they're going to move up for a guy, I could see them moving up. If Abrams is sitting there, I could see them maybe moving up for him because he does seem like a dynamic type of player, kind of I wouldn't say Eric Berry type, but I mean he's like a linebacker type guy that can play safety. He would be an interesting guy for me. But
I wonder if they'd move up for a pass rusher if this Lawrence thing doesn't fix itself real soon. I mean, they did that for DeMarcus Lawrence, I wish Brian Broaddus was here so I could yell at him too. They traded up for DeMarcus Lawrence because they said he was the last guy on their board who could play right end, and now I'm supposed to believe that he can only play left end and he's not as good because he can't play on the right side. That's bull.
Yeah.
So maybe they trade up to get a guy if they really don't feel good about this DeMarcus Lawrence thing, because I just mark it down. I said this last week. Mark it down. Just quote me. I don't care if he's not on this team and healthy, the defense won't be as good. It just won't be. And that's, I'm not trying to disrespect the linebackers or anybody else, but difference-making pass rushers are a big deal.
They make a difference.
They do. The word difference is right there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they're not there,
they're a big deal.
Yep.
Anything
else?
Well, no, we're running out of time, but that left me thinking. I'm like, when you said you would think they would go for a pass rusher.
I mean,
trade up.
You can't have enough.
They're far apart. They're apart on a deal. To quote Stephen Jones, they're at an impasse. As far as we know, the guy's not planning on getting surgery. It's a lengthy recovery. He was probably going to be limited at training camp anyway. He definitely will be if he waits much longer to have it.
Gregory's suspended.
I don't know that yet.
He's suspended.
He's suspended right now.
You
we don't know when he'll come back.
That's all we know.
You know the Cowboys are hopeful.
Well, he is suspended as of right now.
That's an interesting. I mean,
indefinitely.
If this DeMarcus thing goes all the way up to it, I mean, and I have no idea, but they could rescind the tag, they could trade him, they could sign him, but then he's out until October because he needs to have surgery,
let's also say
you could
this:
draft the defensive end to try to offset that.
Even if he comes and signs tomorrow. Okay, and Gregory isn't not suspended. Let's just have this best case scenario. And Taco even plays well. And they all play well. Quinn is probably 1 year deal. He can go.
Yep.
And then you still kind of need somebody there because you're getting to the point with Gregory, where his contract's going to be up there too. So it makes sense that you can always, if there's a good pass rusher, keep them coming.
But if the DeMarcus situation is murky, even more, I would trade significant assets. If a guy that I felt good about was there, I don't think that's likely based on how late they're picking. But
well, hopefully they'll be able to do a better evaluation on that position this year because it's disappointing that they spent the first round on Taco recently and
this is
it
the
just
year
hasn't
of Taco.
really paid off.
This is maybe we'll be sitting back in October like, well, if we'd known Taco was going to have a 10-sack season,
let's hope
then we wouldn't have been whining about this all spring.
Fingers crossed. Well,
anything's possible.
Taco.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us again. For Nikki Mint, David Hellman, Ken Garrison back there hiding, and Amber Garcia, this has been Cowboys Break on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?